Of this meeting, of this presentation, sorry, is Open Data 3.0 towards a hackathon to improve security in Mexico. And let me tell you a little bit about me and why I decided to get started with this initiative. I am from Mexico. I majored in philosophy, but have been, I had some experience with social sciences and public policy and policy making before I turned to web programming full time. So I have worked as a data analyst, as a web developer, as an agile leader and public innovator. My current stack is Ruby on Rails and Postgres. This is what I have experienced the most. I sometimes play around with JavaScript for some libraries I'm interested at. Um, I'm also a lover of the role of urban data to prevent risks in conflicting societies, such as mine, which is facing a current issue with crime, fights, and with the army, and it's a sort of complicated thing. I will tell you a bit more later. So I want to organize a hackathon to create shared repositories for Ruby on Rails and Python. I'm not still sure if it would be Django or any other framework to use as an API. And the purpose of this is to handle geographic information systems like PostGIS or Kepler-JL, this brand new library, React-based, which was created by Uber team. And also, I want to use this hackathon to expose knowledge-based systems like Obsidian, which is a Markdown-based graph networks or visualization tool, and to also use these technologies and some methods like Zettelkasten or Para, which help people to organize their ideas and to be able to get back to their memories and to their notes in an easy way. And I want to do this to improve the intelligence community in Mexico. I actually worked with a few intelligence agents before, and it's really concerning to me how we in Mexico lack the technical capabilities to create better analysis in the crime field. So one fun fact about me is I wanted to be a singer, but I am not a very tuned person, so I guess that's why I am here now doing my programming things. And yeah, you can always reach me out at my AvenueCode email or through LinkedIn. So let me tell you very quickly what this meeting will be. I mean, like the steps that we will take around the presentation. Um, so I will first tell you a little bit about the current Mexico crime context. Then we're gonna talk a bit about what GIS technology can be helpful for in this context. Then I'm gonna just share a couple of things about the problem of data in Mexico. Then a little bit about the actual 3.0 part of the topic, which is like the server-side rendering and blockchain features that are rising up right now, and how they can be useful to run as public infrastructure. And then I will just tell you about some plans I have ahead to run a first online meeting in around 6 months. So if any of you is interested or you like the geography combination with databases, you are most welcome to send me a message over LinkedIn. So about the war on drugs in Mexico, well, just wanted to bring down an example in here. This is a guy from Mexico, and I just wanted to point this out as a starting point because Diego Valle um, was a guy in Mexico who anonymously, well, actually through a GitHub account, etc., but he decided to start transforming and wrangling data that comes from public sources, and that is just to create a public repository for people to be able to analyze crime in Mexico. And this used to be before a source of inspiration to me. particularly because here in Mexico we have been running a really tough war since 2008. It has been a very deadly war, and I think as an intelligence analyst, which was my some of my previous experience, um, I realized that there is a lack of information in this regard, and this is something that can be addressed by technology. And to me, the way how this can be improved is by agreeing over certain technologies that are open source and not coming from these big companies who provide complete and full services that sometimes alienate people or take them away from the actual goal of creating technologies to build up an infrastructure. Um, so let me tell you a little bit about the intelligence communities and what do I mean by this concept. The US has this concept of intelligence communities as a way to refer to the cooperation and protocols around all the agencies that collect and promote data and information all around the government dependencies. And this is something really interesting because in Mexico we don't have such a thing. We used to have a couple or three centralized intelligence organizations, but they didn't have very good communication between them. They didn't have the technical capabilities to start working as a whole, and that's something really bad because that diminished the capability of the state to understand how crime is happening and what can be done without the use of violence or brute force to find a solution or an alternative. Now, this takes me to the usefulness of GIS systems for crime visualization and analysis. And now I will just point out a few technologies I have worked with, which I find very useful for this specific crime analysis purpose and open data purposes that I'm telling you about. Um, there are PostGIS and basically that and Elasticsearch GIS support. Both of them are very useful, um, particularly for the characteristics the geographic information has. And this has to do a bit with the fact that maps are very heavy structures. If you try to understand map in a programming way, you will end up realizing that it's only a set of points connecting all themselves to create a polygon, and this polygon actually creates the form of either a state, a municipality, a block, or even these nodes can be used to understand the roads to map them. But the importance of this is that for decision makers in the crime field, there is an environmental analysis required. And why is this? It's because for these sort of topics, the regular old-fashioned business intelligence-like approach based on statistics and probability, it has a different meaning in these sort of fields. And why is that? Because most of requirements or needs for people for agents in the field have to do with environmental factors, and with this I mean how close a specific location is to roads, how many lights are available in the as part of the public infrastructure, how many or how urbanized is certain spot, and how you can implement certain urban policies to start lowering the violence and the risk levels. And this takes me to the next point, which is territory matters. And this is something I haven't seen in my entire career very much. I have seen a lot of people understanding crime data and understanding and doing crime analysis based on numbers and statistics, and I haven't seen I haven't seen so much work focusing in the way territory conditions the crime behavior, and this is something really really useful because again, if you are attempting to understand crime, you need to be able to make relations of how people move, and I mean it carries a logistic need that has to be addressed in order to be efficient at persecuting and justice, public justice service. The problem of patrolling and direct violence is, as we have seen in multiple places, in multiple countries, in different times, is that these dynamics regularly end up promoting more violence than what they attempted to fix. And this is a situation right now in Mexico because there are some places in the country where the army is actually having armed confrontations against groups of cartels who are fighting against the ownership of certain territory. And this takes me out to the last point, and this is a really nice thing I learned by working in the previous company I was working on, and this is telemetry. How so important and how so innovative tracking systems can be. For example, if you have a company that needs to distribute any service through cars or through delivery systems, it's always good to know which are the safest roads and which are not so safe, and it's always good to know where the authorities have reported crime and to check if your routes have been compromised or if you are running a risk by taking one road instead of the other one, etc. So in the front end field, I think, or I have been very interested in Next.js and in Kepler.jl because both of these technologies, they are very helpful to create fast products and particularly to visualize big amounts of data. And this is particularly useful in the GIS field because, as I told you before, polygons are really, really heavy. I recently had a chance to check out public information of Argentina, and it's so cool to find out that you can create a map on your own to get all the blocks and all the streets, etc. But it's also really amazing how big this data is, and these topics bring me out to my next point, which is like the difference between TopoJSON and Geojson, just to tell you a little bit about the problems and opportunity areas in this regard. So let me tell you, Geojson is like a JSON format to share geographic data, but the problem of this specific format is that it requires to have all polygons like different pieces. So if we are in the case that a polygon is meeting with another polygon and they have like shared boundaries, this GeoJSON approach end up being a little bit inefficient because we lack the ability to set some rules to say, okay, instead of having two lines where the borders of two polygons or three polygons are matching, we could only have one line that works as a frontier, as a border for all of them, and that's where TopoJSON comes in. TopoJSON is an alternative format which actually does this. The TopoJSON format learned from GeoJSON, and this one is really helpful to avoid redundancy in the boundaries and in the limits and the matching parts of the polygons. And this increased performance of JSON maps a lot. I mean, one of these GeoJSON maps, they can be like 200 megabytes big, and you can take them down to kilobytes, and that's something really cool. I really invite you all to take a look at this. So yeah, why are these front-end tools I am talking about in here useful? because they provide visual analysis tools for grassroots. I mean, for soldiers or police agents who are working in terrain, if you have the ability to find out their votes, if you have the ability to find out which places have been under attack before, in that way you have like a sort of visual helper to approach crime, and not only statistics. You can now actually see where is the spot that you should avoid, and that's really really valuable because we have seen um, that some agents can get caught by the crime, and they have a disadvantage in this regard. So another thing is also, as I mentioned before, roads improve logistics operations. So the more we are able to actually see in a map how crime is distributed in a specific area, that way we know how to take decisions over logistics, and more importantly, we have data to carry data analysis and data science algorithms, and that's something really important because here in Mexico we haven't been able to exploit data. I mean, we haven't gone through the data visualization process, so we are still not mature to get into data science. But I think the more we agree over stacks to save data and to collect data, we will be more capable to carry these sort of operations over crime data. Now, let me tell you just a bit about the problem of data in Mexico. First, I will just like to point out that I'm pretty sure we all hate police brutality, and I think this is unfortunately a part of it's part of a problem that comes after lack of intelligence. I think the efficiency of certain operations within the crime analysis and justice prosecution fields, they slow the brute force attacks. They get less violent the more intelligence they have. But the problem, as I said before, is that in Mexico we don't have these communities, and we are not likely to have them through the government initiative because they are not very happy with delivering data about what's actually happening. So I'm pointing out at private companies, at efforts within civil society, academia, and a lot of people who has interest in understanding the geographic terrain in Mexico. So we did have a time when the intelligence status in Mexico was not so bad, and that was around 2008 when the war on drugs officially started in Mexico. But unfortunately, those technologies were provided by some companies that in some way didn't promote the development of an ecosystem. So these centralized agencies that would collect information about cartels, etc., they didn't have a support network where they could share their insights, and that ended up not having enough funding for the next governments, and we all know these sort of stories. So yeah, just to give you a conclusion about how data is right now in Mexico, the National Guard, which is like the institution that takes a federal approach over crime and public security, they do publish data on daily casualties provoked by violent crime. Unfortunately, these statistics, this data, and these sources do not come in a systematic. I mean, they do not come in a parsable way. They do not come in a CSV file. They do not come in Excel files. Not even from a database. They just deliver it through PDF files, and then one has to run over a lot of trouble to get this transformed to data. And I'm pretty sure because I have experience with and I have shared some insights with some other ex-colleagues from the same industry. that most of companies who perform crime analysis, they repeat the same procedures on their own companies, and that's something that actually takes us away from the ability to exploit this data. Now, just planning ahead, let me just come up with a quote that I improvised yesterday. And this is: civic tech can improve social policy, and I say so. Okay, why I say so? In my public innovation experience, I found out that there are a lot of participatory ecosystems and research about decentralized networks, about voting systems, about building trust through blockchain like structures. And I think technology can be the angular stone for new governance systems that reduce lethal violence and hard crimes in our loved Latin America. Now, let me just tie everything up, just to give you the message I originally wanted to say to you. This is: I'm working to find the stakeholders for a hackathon that help people with certain stack interests to join companies working with this shared stack. So I would really like to have the opportunity to create a hub, to create a space for people interested in GIS systems to be able to connect with people who is willing to hire or to work professionally with developers that are familiar with this stack and with these problems in the crime industry. And yeah, that's it on my side. So I just invite you to connect. You have my data here, and I'm very open to any question that you may have.
Any questions, guys? Nope. So, okay. Thank you so much, Angel, for your lecture. It was absolutely amazing. Guys, I would like to ask you to fill our Google Forms about this lecture. It's on our chat, and then there you can confirm your presence here with us and also answer our survey about it. Okay. Thank you so much for being here with us, and have a nice day, guys. See you.